patriotism understands the nature of a universal patriotism and love of homeland in all peoples, and it strives to protect and promote the legitimate sovereignty of all nations. Editorial archives during and since the First Gulf War are full of advice from Mideast experts who warned of the dire consequences of removing Saddam Hussein. For in spite of his brutality, his regime held the warring Iraqi factions in a quasi-peace, and he was a stabilizing linchpin throughout the Mideast. Before King Saud and the other neighboring rulers would agree to join Desert Storm Coalition, they all insisted on the precondition that George H.W. Bush would rein in his army after the liberation of Kuwait and not proceed to Baghdad. Moving on. After 9/11, many experts predicted that invading Iraq would provide Osama bin Laden with his best possible recruiting tool. However, Bush and the rest of his inner circle decided that their anointed wisdom was superior to that of all those mere experts. Their goals were so lofty and lucrative, surely their ends justified their means. But all that is now passed into regrettable history, and we're faced with the seemingly hopeless task of how to restore order out of chaos and get our troops home. My appeal then to Congressman Randy Kuhl would be to support a planned withdrawal starting next January to be finished in July. But it would contain an unwritten proviso that if it were obvious in December that they had made substantial progress toward their 16 benchmarks, but also obvious that they still needed an extension of some reasonable time, then a carefully metered out extension could be made. The key ingredient would be earnest and steady application of due diligence, and I emphasize due diligence on their part, with progress that was continuous, measurable, and substantial. Finally, I earnestly appeal for a new surge in Veterans Affairs Department to expand the care and facilities to meet the increased need of the veterans once they're home. The funding and facilities now available are far short of what is needed. We have the resources and the capability. It's up to you to provide the will and the vote. Thank you all for giving this veteran